that I wanted to do for my husband, Jabulani Tambo, which is give him the burial and everything that he wanted, everything that was his last wishes. So I have been granted that, and despite the funeral going ahead tomorrow, I will still do what he requested, what he would expect from me, and what it is that he wanted. So thank you to the legal system, to my support system, to my team. I am feeling very blessed, and that's that. Thank you.
How are you going to fulfill his wishes if the funeral is going ahead?
No questions. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Can you just tell us exactly what happened in court in Ndileka and what the judgment was in its totality?
All right. If I may begin at the beginning, our intention, our reason for approaching the court in the main was so that our client, Ms. Lerato Sengadi, can actually have exercise over the remains of her body, of the remains of her husband's body. And we could not do that without actually requesting the court to declare her the wife of the deceased. So we are pleased that the court has done that, and we are pleased that the court, in fact, has, educated everybody with regards to, the validity of a customary marriage. And we are also pleased with the fact that the court, although having given her or having pronounced her, the wife, the valid wife, and also having acknowledged the fact that if she could, and in fact legally she can, be the one who is supposed to actually decide what happens to the body. The court also considered, on a balance of convenience, meaning currently everything that is being planned with regards to to the funeral, that so much has been planned already, and so much has been expected, and a lot of people are expecting to come to the funeral. It would be somewhat not of Ubuntu to interdict the funeral. That's the only reason that the judgment turned out the way that it did today. My client is, in fact, weighing her options with regards to that. She, of course, respects the court's judgment. The reason why she came to the court, in fact, was to ensure that her husband's dying wishes or burial wishes are done in accordance with what he had told her. However, that is not obviously to be in this instance. But in the main, we are actually very excited that the court has actually educated all women, and not just women, but South Africa as a whole, as to what it is that is required in terms of being recognized as a wife in an African or customary marriage.
Now that she's been recognized as a wife, does that mean she has rights to his estate?
It would invariably mean that. It would definitely invariably mean that she has, the right to, basically, if I could just put it that way, all the other formal and normal consequences, that flow from being a valid wife would then now follow.
So what course does she have now? Now that the fact that the funeral is going ahead, the wishes of her husband being buried in Johannesburg are not going to happen. What recourse does she have after this?
She's got quite a number of recourses available to her. Obviously, those which have to be, considered, but she does have legal recourses available to her. Like I just explained earlier, the normal, legal consequences and rights now follow. So she will have to explore those and have a look at that.
Would one of those options be exhumation?
At this point, we cannot comment on that because, obviously, she's got to firstly decide whether she is going to attend the funeral or not. So, but that is, of course, available to her.
So she hasn't decided if she's going to attend the funeral?
Not at this point. As you can imagine, under the circumstances, she hasn't yet decided if that is going to happen. And particularly with regards to the press releases that have been made by the family, leading up to this point, she's not sure if that is in fact, an opportunity to. However, they have indicated many times in court, as you guys have heard, that, an invitation is extended. So we cannot speculate at this point whether that is an honest invitation or, it was an invitation to just sway the court in their favor. But, yeah, she's considering that too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, that was Ndileka Sithole. That was Lerato Sengadi's lawyer, and as you've heard, she has clarified what the ruling of the court was. Yes, the judgment of Judge Mokgoatlheng has recognized Lerato Sengadi as the legal customary wife of Jabba. However, the judgment includes that the funeral will go ahead. So in that aspect, the interdict was not granted, and that was based on the balance of convenience. We know that the funeral is tomorrow. It's going to be an official provincial funeral, so preparations are already underway. Millions, thousands of rands have been invested into this funeral. The judge did implore on Ms. Sengadi to attend the funeral around the issue of Ubuntu, saying that, as in the spirit of Ubuntu, she should attend the funeral. But as you've heard from her lawyer, she is still considering whether she will go due to various statements that have been made in the public. And the reasons why Judge Mokgoatlheng made the judgment around Sengadi being the legal wife was the fact that customary law is based on around 3 prerequisites that are required for a customary marriage to be valid. And that is one, it needs to be negotiated. The 2 parties need to be over the age of 18. And the third prerequisite is that there needs to be consent. Now, the judge went through various case law. Different judges have made different judgments depending on the circumstances of that case. So the applicant, Ms. Sengadi, brought about 19 cases to the court to present why the handover ceremony was not a necessary prerequisite, whereas the respondents, the Tambo family, also brought some case law where judges made decisions around the handover ceremony having to be a prerequisite as well in order for a customary marriage to be deemed legal. But in this case, the judge felt that that was not a necessary prerequisite, and that customary law is constantly evolving, and in fact it generally is dictated by the judge who is presiding over a certain matter. So if the judge feels that in this particular case one is legally a customary partner, then that is how the judge will rule. So it definitely, as we've seen from this case, that it's not set in stone as to what is deemed a legal customary partner, but there are certainly some prerequisites that need to be fulfilled before that distinction between a legal and or not legal customary wife is made. And in this case, Lerato Sengadi is definitely Jabba's legal customary wife. We've heard from her. She says that she respects the judgment, and from what we've heard from the lawyer, she may be taking legal steps in order to possibly exhume the body if that's what she decides. But the funeral will definitely be going ahead.
Sleep, just before I let you go, one quick one. Am I correct in saying that if Lerato Sengadi does indeed attend the funeral tomorrow, the nature and form of her participation at the funeral is still unclear at this stage?
Certainly. It's certainly not clear whether the Tambo family will receive her and accept her and recognize her as Jabba's customary wife. The judgment in this case says that she is more than welcome to go to that funeral. She has every right to attend that funeral. But whether Jabba's family actually recognizes her as the customary wife is something that is yet to be seen. It's also yet to be seen whether she'll even attend that funeral.
Okay, that's all going to leave it. Our reporter, Slindelo Masigana at